is kind of like your credit repair program. You know, it shows that I'm making the payments every month. You're getting credit for it. You're getting credit for it. So the nice thing is, I've never bought a house that with bank money at all. I use private investors, and I take over loans, and I use seller financing. I've never, ever gone into the bank and say, I want to go buy a house, can you lend me money? I've never done that. And, you know, so they pull my credit report, and they look at my assets and say, well, where are your liabilities? I go, well, I don't have any. I don't use banks, I use private individuals. They don't report on my credit report because they don't have the ability to do that, right? So, so I have the assets and the liabilities, and now, of course, I have contingent liabilities. If the payments aren't made, you know, they're going to foreclose on that house, right?
Well, that you have private investors who are lending you money, that's a mortgage, aren't they recording the lien?
Oh, sure, they can record their lien. What I'm saying is they don't report to TransUnion, and when I make the payments, they're not reporting to TransUnion and Equifax and all that stuff.
But of course, show up on the credit report.
No. No, because the credit report is only people that subscribe to Equifax, to TransUnion.
But it shows up on the title.
Oh, it shows up the title,
Oh, I
yeah.
just learned
Yeah. We give them a first mortgage, you know, first mortgage or second mortgage in some cases. But we give them a mortgage secured by the property. We give them additional insured on our, you know, fire hazard policy. We give them, so they have the fire hazard insurance. We give them the title insurance. It's title insurance that says that they got a good, valid mortgage on that property. We do all that stuff, you know. You know, depending on what they're looking for. I mean, we'll give them, you know, sometimes we'll stick a deed in escrow or something like that. Where, you know, I'm comfortable doing any of that stuff because we, you know, most of the private investors we have are, you know, investors that we meet, relationships that we built. I started out with friends and family. I mean, that was the first thing. I mean, I don't know. You have a slide later about.
Yeah, there's a slide later about
So anyway, so a lot of it, you know, we use these things together. You know, maybe there's somebody that owns a house free and clear. I just talked to a lady before anybody came in the room that has a house for sale for $265. She needs to buy a modular home for $74,000, and she needs to drill a well for what's that, 20? I ended up just refinancing them, but we're not
Very
really
professional.
flipping houses as our MO. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we're doing it with in the next slide, I think. But we're holding everything we can because rents are going up, things aren't selling. You know, buyers, it's hard for them to get loans. So I mean, we're trying to hang on to and hoard. It's house hoarding syndrome. So this is out.
You got a reality
Yeah,
show
okay.
on that?
What's that? House
House
hoarders.
hoarders.
House hoarders.
That's a good idea.
Dude, househoarders.com.
Write that down.
I'm
Write
registering.
that down. Whoa. Hey,
I'm gonna register right now.
Look, you knocked off the whole slide presentation. Okay, so we told you we were gonna show you how we can buy houses with no money down. And we told you we're gonna do it without banks. Okay, and we've kinda covered that. And we told you we're gonna keep them, right? We're not selling these buildings. So you're probably wondering, how the hell are you guys getting paid? Right? We don't have jobs, we're full-time real estate investors. This is all we do. I'm addicted to real estate. I don't do anything else. So how do we get paid, right? One way that we get paid is if we put together a deal where, you know, let's throw, you know, it's one I just did 3 weeks ago. It's comps were $235,000 and $255,000. We got the house for $165, okay? It was a bank-owned property, an REO. We bought it for cash. It only needs about 15 grand, okay? So we had a private lender who financed the house, and he financed the construction for us. He's got first position mortgage on the whole thing. We told him, listen, you understand we're private, we're full-time real estate investors. We don't have an income. We do need income to survive. So we borrowed an extra $5,000 off of the house with the private investor's approval up front, and we split it and we put a few bucks in our pocket, okay? Once the construction is finished on the house, we put the house up for lease to own, and we get a non-refundable option consideration from the tenant who moves into the house, and that's $5,000, okay? And we take that money and split it. So we each got paid $5,000 for a house, okay? That we didn't put any of our own money into. Now, we're experts in the real estate business. We're damn good at what we do. We know what we're doing. So we should get paid for this, okay? We're structuring deals, some of the best deals that I've ever seen. One of the reasons I got hooked up with Jeremy is the most brilliant real estate. I've been in this business since 1989. I I have never met anybody as brilliant as this guy with his creative financing that he does. I've done a lot of things that he hasn't done, and together we work in combination to support each other, and that we're buying so many things. God, we need each other's help, because no one can be in two places at once. It's a great way. We just found $5,000 for each of us. We got paid. Now, if we do a deal like that a month, I mean, you know, there's a living. We're making a living.
Typically on a deal like that, what kind of interest rates are you talking?
Interest rates in regard to
Yeah,
what?
for
With the
paying to
private
the private
investor?
investor, yeah.
It depends. Every deal has a life of its own. Every deal is different. Sometimes, you know, we're paying somebody, you know, whatever it was.
I mean, in this market.
Okay, we pay people 7%, something that we're pretty comfortable with. We have a guy we did this deal with. He wanted an equity share in the building because we showed him the comps were 235, 255. It was easy, 50 grand in this deal right off the bat.
Depends on if it's a first mortgage or second
Yeah.
mortgage. Depends on if it's a junker rehab, and we'll pay 10 and 12%. Sometimes if it's a junker rehab, it's a risky deal. You know, I was just telling these guys about a house that we have is a third of a house. Well, geez, it's kind of a scary piece of collateral. So it's, you know, we may pay like 10%. I think we're paying on that with, you know, and we'll get it in draws, because they obviously don't want to put all the money up front, because the house isn't worth all the money the rehab's gonna take yet, so they do it in draws, you know, so, I mean, it depends on each deal. Some longer term stuff, we have stuff at 7, we have stuff at 8, it's gotta make, the cash flow's gotta make sense, and the exit strategy. So you wanna do a 1-year term at 10% for a rehab, great. If there's people doing, you know, 5 years at 7 or 8, because it's a rental property, you know, that's cool too. And, you know, we're here at Entrust. I mean, there's a lot of our investors use their IRAs to do it too. So, I mean, that's not, you know. I'm sorry, Camera plan, I'm sorry, camera plan.
Alright, so, that's,
Old habits
those,
are hard to break.
You're paying a lot of money for that branding change.
so there's a couple of ways that we could get paid. Now, we could still flip properties if we had a buyer that was set up. Buyers are kinda tough to find today, retail ones that is. But they're out there, and we could also wholesale a property if we wanted to. But I already told you today where am I heading. I want a $12 million portfolio, so every time I sell a piece of real estate, I'm making it harder and harder to get to the 12 million, okay? So I don't really want to sell anything. I'm more than comfortable living the frugal life of a real estate investor, being equity rich and cash poor. I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay, if I get to do what I love to do every day, and you know, I get a little money here and there from various sources that we have, it's a tremendous way to be able to focus on real estate, you know, 100% of the time, and be out there making killer deals. Never before has there been an opportunity like this. These strategies probably are easier to do now than they've ever been. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, how many people have houses on the market? You know, there's people that have houses on the market that, with this lady I just talked to, my house has been on the market for 2 years. I mean, you think that she's wanting to make something work? And the only other thing she gets is realtors submitting offers and I said, look, you know, we're not gonna submit an offer without talking to you first and know what kind of an offer you would accept, because I'd be silly just sending you a blind offer and playing this like, paperwork tennis back and forth, counter. Talk to each other, figure out what works, you know?
Tangential question, but do you buy properties in trusts or LLCs? What's your preference?
Yeah, I use trusts all the time. I use different trusts per property. And, you know, I even am asking my lenders now to put their money into a trust and loan it to me from the trust, because I figured out that if you Googled, you know, if somebody Googles my name on the public records or whatever, I say Google, but on the public records, you know, you come up with the stuff before I learned how to trust that properties I've sold, you know, old deeds and things like that. But then, you know, if you Google anything recent, everything's in trust. So you look, you know, so everything's kind of segregated. You know, in Philadelphia, if you have 23 houses in your name and you get a L&I lien for 10 grand, ask me how I know. I have a friend that's happened to. L&I lien for 10 grand. He's at a separate closing to sell a house that's completely on the other side of the city. Guess what? We just had this 10 grand L&I lien. He goes, what are you talking about, 10 grand L&I lien? On this property down south West Philly or whatever. Oh yeah, where are you sending these notices? Well, to the house, of course. What? Why don't you send them to the tax records address? Where do you think the tenant is getting these trash notices is putting the trash lien notices? in the trash with the rest of it outside, you know? So I mean, so there's the reasons they use trusts, I mean, I think it's phenomenal. And then, you know, the other thing is, if somebody Googles a lender, geez, they come up with all these, who did that lender loan to? Oh, look at all these different trust names that lender loaned to. So then I'm like, all right, so now I ask my lenders to say, well, put the money into, fund a trust, and then have that trust lend to me, and if I resell the house, you know, I throw away that trust, and you throw away that trust, and now, you know, it's just, I mean, I can explain it offline, I guess, to somebody a little bit
What's your
later.
cost of setting up a trust?
Print on the printer, you know, just hit print, fill in the blanks, hit print, just like filling out a purchase and sale agreement. That's all, I mean, you know, obviously I've had them looked at initially, but after that, just kinda cookie cutter, like filling out a form, you know, hit print. That way I don't have to file $100 with the state, I don't have to advertise in 2 newspapers like I have to do with the state, I don't have to pay a filing fee, I don't have to pay an administration fee, I don't have to get an EIN number, anything like that, just.
You know, we've been doing this a long time, we have our own mortgages, we have our own notes, we have our own trust agreements.
It's too easy not to do, unless you're getting banks financing, because the banks, for some reason, don't like trusts. So, except for TD Bank now, I applied online to TD Bank for a line of credit or something, they say, how do you hold title?
Yeah.
Is it personal, is it jointly, or is it in trust? I go, huh, check that out, trust.
That's because it's catching on.
Yeah.
But most banks won't,
No,
entertain
I've had
it.
banks that will, where I had to kind of explain to them a little bit why it's actually better to have in trust. The trust beneficial interest is personal property, you know, you can always give them that as collateral, and they don't have to foreclose, but they don't understand that.
Yeah, I'll give you another great benefit to using trust. I'm bidding on properties all the time, and if they have a listing agent, they don't wanna pay me a commission if I'm the principal, right? So I'm the realtor representing, you know,
Trust.
Philadelphia Real Estate Trust. And I'm also signing the paperwork because I'm the trustee of Philadelphia Real Estate Trust. They immediately call me up and go, so are you buying this property? No, I'm representing some real estate investors who own Philadelphia Real Estate Trust, and I am their realtor and I am the trustee. End of story, I don't own property. So you can get paid
Or in a case
commissions.
where you are the principal, you know,
Yeah, in
they'll
case where I
have
am
me be
the
the
principal.
trustee, and then he and I maybe own it underneath,
Right.
he owns it,
So
whatever.
he signs as the trustee and I'm the realtor and the owner is a different name and you can get paid commissions, right? For properties, REOs will never pay you commissions, right? That was a fight, I used to have to put them in my wife's name and all kinds of other crazy stuff, now we just put them in trust and I get paid for everything, right? So you make, your deals are even getting sweeter. You take another 3% off of every deal that you do, because you've been using trust. So we're actually, not only are we not paying to do a trust, we're getting paid to use them.
It's so easy, I mean, there's no reason, I don't think there's any reason unless you're depending on a bank, on pretender lenders for financing. You know.
I mean, you do have to understand the trust, and you gotta go through them and do a little bit of study, and then there's software that'll generate the trusts. But I mean, even if you have an attorney do it, they'll do one for 500 to 1,000, then you have it.
Then you have it, you're
And you
done.
just change the names and the addresses, so.
So typically, just so I would understand, when you're dealing with these trusts, and you're dealing with private lenders to do these trusts, because the average bank doesn't, or mortgage company won't entertain it, what is the difference in, you know, rates and whatnot?
Rates, what do you mean?
We're not.
Interest rates.
Well, I pay the interest rates to, like our private lenders, I mean, we don't pay, I mean, we're paying, you know, 3 times CD rates and things like that, you're a little bit, maybe even a little bit higher. But if we're going to a bank for lending with a trust, I mean, I haven't, like, the lines of credit, I've gotten banks to lend with trust.
Okay.
The rates are the same, like I get a prime equity line on trust, my personal residence is in a trust.
All right, I understand.
Prime -1, the same thing.
But I'm talking about as far as the private lenders that you usually have to deal with in
Right.
order to do this.
Right.
What is the difference between them and a regular prime lender?
Well, so I think that's what Phil was saying, like we're paying 7 and 8% interest, where the market's rates are what, 5, 4, 4.5? So
Okay, I just
7
wanna
and
get
eight.
it.
Commercial stuff's 6.5% today. I
Yeah.
can't get anything any less than 6.5 for
We're typically 8 on a first mortgage at a low loan to value, like, you know,
From your
I don't.
from your private money lender?
Private money, yeah, I don't take anybody higher than like 75% loan to value, because I feel like, you know, is it the bottom? I think it's damn close enough, but at the same time,
That's
you
a
know,
good rate
you
for
wanna have
private money.
a